Okay. Zimelang. Kamalang Gavusi, babe. My name is Busi. Welcome to my channel. Discovering you. That's what this video is about. Straight into it, yeah. Discovering you. You're with yourself 24/7. That's the only thing that you have with you. The only physical thing that you have with you 24/7, 365 is yourself. Now imagine being partnered 24/7, 365 with a stranger, someone that you don't know. That's the lives that some of us are living. We don't know ourselves. So something that has always stuck with me that my dad once asked me when I was in high school, he asked me to describe the kitchen at home. And I described it wonderfully. And then he asked me to describe myself. And I was like, sorry? What do you mean by that? And then, ever since, I have made it my life's mission to make sure that I'm actually able to describe myself. Whenever I'm put in a situation where someone says, oh, tell me about yourself, I should be able to tell them that, hey, this is me. I like painting. I like this. This is what I do for fun. This is how I see the world. This is my perspective. This is this, this is that. I've made it my mission to make sure that when people ask me, when it comes to answering the question, who am I? Even when I sit with myself and ask myself, who am I? I'm able to answer that question as quickly as I can answer the question of someone asking me to describe a kitchen or to describe my bedroom. Because then if I am so quick to describe other things around me, that means I pay more attention to the things around me than I do to my own self. And that's a bit unfair to myself because the only thing I have with me 24/7 is literally myself. And the thing I find funny is that in society, we pursue all these other things. We pay so much attention to the school that you're going to go to, the degree that you want to get, where you want to work, the house you want to live in, the car you want to drive, all these external things. We pay so much attention to pouring resources and our energy into all these external things that make life worth the living, TTT. But at the same time, I think that if we're going to take so much energy to pour all this energy into external things, surely there should be some ROI to ourselves, right? And why I think you should start with yourself, why you should go on this journey of discovering you is because I think I believe that everything starts from this internal compass. Actually starts with the Lord. But anyways, if you don't subscribe to him, everything starts in this internal compass that you have. And that internal compass is what determines the material things that you're going to seek after. So if you don't know yourself, you don't know your you don't have an interpersonal relationship with yourself, you don't know your relationship with failure, with success, with emotions, with people, with relationships, with all the stuff. If you don't know what that thing, the definition of that for you is, you're gonna be pursuing things in your life or living life according to other people's definitions. So your version of success might just be a version of success that you've taken from someone else or from your family members. That success looks like having a degree, getting married, having a family, and moving overseas. That might be what your family's version of success is, but for you, you don't see success that way. For you, your definition of success could be something completely different. Like, I don't know, maybe you just want to get married, you don't want to have kids, you want to be an astronaut. Yeah, I don't know, whatever your definition is your definition. That's the thing that matters, is that it is something that you have taken the time and defined for yourself. You said, what does definition mean for me? What does success mean for me? When I sit down with myself at the end of the day and I'm like, oh, this is what success means. I don't have this uncomfortable feeling to say, but I borrowed this definition from whoever. And if you don't even know if your definition is borrowed, sit down and ask yourself the things that you look at and your indicators to say, okay, this is success. Do you really believe that this is success? And also, like, how does it actually make you feel? If you have achieved some of those things and you don't really have this sense of like fulfillment or like accomplishment in you, then I think that's a pretty good indicator that like you never ever thought that thing that you have pursued is a matrix of success in the first place, right? So again, why I think discovering you is so important with all these material things that we pursue. I think when you know yourself, it's easier then to pursue these material things. Because if I am saying that now, okay, I want a car, and I'm like, I want a BMW, right? I need to literally question, why do I want a BMW? If the only reason why I want a BMW is because my whole family has BMWs and I'm like, okay, I also want a BMW, then that's not really something that I'm doing for myself. I'm not necessarily chasing that thing for myself. I'm chasing it because of something, because my family has chased it. And now I'm just trying to live out my family's dream, right? Or my family's just trying to live out vicariously through me. And now there comes a point in time where you're supposed to ask yourself that, okay, but I want this BMW, but do I really want this BMW? This is where now we go and explore. If you have the luxury to explore, to say, okay, let's go in a Mercedes. Like, let me sit in a Mercedes, let me sit in a Polo, let me sit in an Audi, let me sit in XYZ. And then when you experience all those different things, how do you experience those guys? Just go to a dealership. Go to a dealership and then just sit in them. Or if you're fortunate enough to have friends who have these like different cars, just sit in it and like drive in it. And then you'll actually feel, oh, I like a Mercedes more than a BM. I like an Audi more than I do a Porsche and all the stuff. And then your metric of success becomes your own, the thing that you desire, the thing that you're pursuing. Instead of you now saying, I'm pursuing a BMW because my whole family likes BMW, you're going to say, I'm pursuing getting a Porsche because I like a Porsche. The more you do that, the more you listen to your internal compass, the more you pay attention to you and what you like, your body's going to start speaking to you a lot more and prioritize you a lot more. And I promise you, the quality of your life is going to be so immaculate the moment you start living for, I can't say living for yourself, but kind of like living for yourself by listening to yourself. Because if you have this like ughy feeling and whatever, your body's trying to tell you something. Same thing as like butterflies. You get in a relationship and you feel butterflies. How's your immune system telling me that, babes, we don't feel safe around this person? Yeah, so that's reason number one why I feel like discovering you is so important, is because in your pursuit of all these other material things, you don't want to be pursuing material things that literally have no significant value to you, not to your family, to you yourself and you. Because then you're going to waste your time, because you're going to get that BMW and then you're going to be like, I actually really like this. You're going to sit in the car and be like, okay, I achieved this, but nothing in me is satisfied, because all along you've been pursuing a material thing that is not going to satisfy you, but it satisfies everyone around you, right? Reason number two why I think discovering you is worth it. In a culture, in a community, communities, cultures, relationships are all centered on personal thoughts and beliefs and values. And if a culture is defined by a certain value, that means that everyone who is found to be in that culture believes in that specific value system and whatever the situation is, right? So if I have a thought that I don't know, I think babies should take cocaine, and I want to start a culture that babies should take cocaine, I'm going to go out there and start saying why I think babies should be on I'm not saying babies should be on cocaine. I'm not saying babies should be on cocaine. This is just an example. I'm going to say babies should be on cocaine. And then my opinion, when I go out there and I start presenting this case to say, guys, this is why I think that babies should be on cocaine, I'm going to talk to all these different people. Some way, somehow, someone's going to agree with me and start to think about, oh, okay, no, but I hear them. And then they're going to take that conversation and talk to another person and another person and another person. And then before you know it, my one opinion has managed to literally create a whole community, a whole society, a whole culture where we believe that babies should be on cocaine, right? And then after that, what happens? We're going to say, pro cocaine for the babies, pro white snow for the babies, you know? And now, because of my one thought, my belief, a whole culture from one thought, from one perspective, my perspective, and me going to different people and sharing this one perspective, those different people have found other people who believe in the same shared perspective. And now you have a whole culture, a whole community that is going to raise their kids up and give them cocaine. That is the power of discovering you. Your voice matters. It sounds so cliche, but your voice matters. Your thoughts, your opinions, your belief matter. If I go into a community and I say that, hey, this is why I think babies should be on cocaine, and I know that cultures are shaped by an individual's perspective, someone's thoughts, and all these different people now come and see, they investigate, do I resonate with this thought? Do I not resonate with this thought? I do. And if I do, I'm going to vouch for it. I'm going to back it up. If culture is made up of all these different thoughts and beliefs and values and all the stuff, I think that I would not even, I think, I believe, me personally, I would want my contribution towards that culture and that society to be one that is mine, not one that I've borrowed from friends, not one that I've borrowed from family, not one that I haven't even sat with myself and investigated, you know? So I'll take like Christianity, for example. I'm a Christian, but the only reason why I believe in Jesus is because I've sat and investigated him for myself. I'm not going to tell you that I'm a believer because my mom is a believer, because we went to church, because we grew up in church. No, I'm a believer because it's not personal. Because I sat with Jesus and I asked him a question. I said, my brother, what is happening here? And because now I've investigated it for myself, if you're going to ask me why am I a Christian, I'm not going to give you a washed up answer that comes from whoever. The answer I'm going to give you comes from me, because I sat with it and investigated it. So even when I speak about Christianity, if I vouch for Christianity, I can vouch for my belief system, because I'm like, hey guys, I've said with this thing myself. I'm not telling you something that my grand told me. I'm not telling you something that my mom told me. I'm not telling you something that the pastor told me. I'm telling you something that I have experienced. I'm telling you my own personal experience and the thoughts that I've had and the relationship that I've had and my experience that I've had with this God. That's why I'm saying that I'm a Christian. That's life. Culture is influenced by, a whole culture comes from one person's thought, one person's perspective. That one thought and perspective is shared with multiple people. And those multiple people now have to take this information and see, how does this information sit with me? And that's how you find people who back certain movements and people who don't. And so if one person's opinion can literally be the start of a revolution. Think of Hitler. Hitler had this one belief that he believed in what he believed in, that Jews are better than Germans, or was it Germans are better than Jews? I can't remember. But the blue eyes, blonde hair, those are like the superior people. And then the Jewish people were put in concentration camps and all those things. Hitler managed to take his opinion, one opinion, and that opinion is the reason why so many Jewish people died. A white man came to Africa with his opinion, and then because of his one opinion, he managed to convince all the other white people that Africans are the minority, and some way, somehow, also convinced Africans that you guys are the minority, and then bada bing, bada boom, Africans were slaves. It's not that simple, but it is that simple. The power of one person's perspective. Now imagine if that's your perspective. You have a perspective, you have a thought, you have belief systems. The last thing I would want for myself is for my contribution to society to be something that I have not even sat with myself and said, but do I really believe this? Do I really stand on this? Taking this information and seeing how does it relate to me. And yes, sometimes you might just agree with something that your grandmother said, but you don't want to just agree with it like Justin J because I've just agreed with it. You want to investigate it to see, but do I really, like, why do I believe in this? I'm just that curious person, like, why? If we're saying that we're going left, why? Why are we going left? I'm going to question why we're going left. It's actually the life verse I live by. I don't know if you can see it. Oh my gosh, can you see? Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to the norms of this world, but be renewed by the transformation of your mind, so that you may know God's perfect and pleasing plan for your life. That's a Bible verse that I live by because I'm a curious cat. If I'm going to stand on something, I need to investigate why I stand on that thing. And that's why it's important to discover you. Your opinion, your thoughts, your beliefs. You bring that to society. Every room you walk into, you come in that room with beliefs, with values, with thoughts. When you walk into that room, you want to make sure that the things that you stand on, the things that you believe are things that come from you, not things that you've never said and investigated, but things that you've actually sat with and said, if I go into a room and I speak about relationships and my contribution towards this conversation is that relationships are the worst things for people, when I go to this room and I present that opinion, is that an opinion that I have formed, me, myself? Or is that an opinion I've heard from my family? It's an opinion I've heard from social media? It's an opinion I heard from a teacher? It has to be an opinion that comes from you. Because now, if all of us are taking opinions that come from social media, then all of us are being imposters. Our opinions are not ours. They're imposter opinions. We are all just taking on one person's mask and trying to put that mask on our face, and it doesn't work. And then that's why we live in the society that we live in. That's why people get married. People get married and then they get divorced. It's not the only reason why, but people get married because they've never taken time to actually sit with themselves and search themselves and see, do I actually even want marriage? Do I really want kids? And then you never sit with yourself and ask yourself, do you really want kids? And then you're going to go leave someone's child they adopted, or even worse, you're going to neglect the child. You're going to give the child all these physical things that they need. That yes, you're going to provide a shelter for them. You're going to provide them with clothes, school, food, whatever the situation is. But emotionally, you're not going to be there. Mentally, you're not going to be there. Spiritually, you're not going to be there. All these things that are essential for this child to still grow, like the essential things for this child to grow, you're not going to give them that because you simply thought that everyone part of adulting is that you have a child, but you've never actually sat and thought, but do I even want a child? Do I have it in me to be emotionally available for someone? Do I have it in me to teach someone like certain things? And even if you don't have it in you, are you willing to go and like outsource those things? Are you willing to sit and read the books to say, okay, how do I become a better parent? Are you willing to do those things? Or now you just want to have a child because, hey, you need blessing, simply because the Bible says that a child is a blessing. Simply because your grandmother's like, oh, I want another grandchild before Ndishona. But you've never even sat with yourself and said, but am I capable of raising a child? You want to start a business because everyone's starting a business, but you've never actually sat and said, oh, but am I capable of managing myself? If you're not capable of managing yourself, then how? Because I am 9 to 5 is there, and that's okay. Even if culture's on some 9 to 5, 9 to 5. If you know that you're not capable of managing yourself, and being an entrepreneur means that you have to have proper self-mastery skills, then go and work a 9 to 5. It's okay. And then if you're going to change your mind, you're going to change your mind, and that's okay. So moral of this video is that learn yourself, discover yourself. It's an ongoing process. There's no point in life where you're going to get to life and be like, yay, I know every single thing about myself. I'm lying, you do. You're going to get to that point, but then there's also going to come a point in life where you're going to have to learn a new version of yourself. Because as life goes, you're faced with new seasons, new challenges, and all these new things require a new version of yourself. And you're going to have to shed some old skin to grow a new pair of skin. And that is just the cycle of life. And as the cycle of life goes on, my only ask of you, my only request of you is that you pay attention to yourself while all of this is happening. Discovering yourself is a simple act of mindfulness. This means that when you're thinking, think of your thinking. It sounds so weird, but think of your thinking. Are you pleased with the way that you think? I used to be a negative thinker and I hated it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, why do I think like that? And then, that's kind of like how I ended up on this whole like counselor, psychologist vibe. Because I was like, I don't like the way I think. And I was so curious to know, like, why do I think the way I think? And I picked up a book and I read it and I said, oh, I can change the way I think. And so ever since then, it's just been this thing of, if I don't like something, I sit with myself and I say, but why am I so negative? Even if it's not something that I don't like, but something that I'm just curious about, to say, why do I think of things like this? And I will do my research to say, oh, I think of things like this because I have a skeptic vibe to me. That's why everything that comes my way, I'm just like, because somehow I'm just a very skeptical person. Is it something that I want to keep? Is it a part of my identity that I want to keep? Yes, I enjoy being skeptical. I love it. But then I know sometimes that I shouldn't put that mask on. Not everything requires you to be skeptical, right? So it's a simple act of mindfulness that as you're moving through life, you pay attention to yourself. You pay attention to the things that you think about. If you're pursuing something, you search in yourself, why am I pursuing this thing? Am I pursuing this thing because everyone is pursuing it? Or am I pursuing this thing because I want to pursue it? And along this journey, you're going to make mistakes. And the whole point is that you own your mistakes, because mistakes are part of life. And that is even mindfulness, that are you willing to make mistakes? Why do you not want to make mistakes? You investigate these things. That if you're scared of making a mistake, why? If you're a perfectionist, why? And is that the route you want to continue to go down, right? If you are if you don't like conflict, why? If you just dismiss everything, why? It's being curious about yourself. That is mindfulness. Being curious about yourself, understanding your relationship with failure, with emotions, and investigating, do you like that? That is life. It's not just pursuing all these material things, because I promise you, people pursue material things and then like they get to the end of that thing and they're like, oh my gosh, but this is not even all that. But I promise you, certain people, we look at them and we're like, yo, this person is crazy because hi boy, they have so little, yet they are so content with their life. It's because they know themselves. They move in this life knowing that every single thing I'm doing is the thing that pleases me. And in that, it's not a selfish thing. It's not just you doing something because it pleases you, but the better quality of a human being you are, the better your impact on everyone else is so much better because you know yourself. You walk into a room and you know what you bring. You walk into a room and you're more confident. What does that mean? You're not gonna crap on people because you're insecure. When someone brings a good idea to the table, you're not gonna be like, no, that's not a good idea simply because you're jealous. No, that's why it's so important to just get to know yourself, because your contribution towards society is gonna be so immaculate. Because yeah, in this life we don't just live for ourselves, unfortunately. How do I know this? The fact that you don't even know how you look. You've never seen your true self. You've only seen yourself through the reflection of something, through pictures. You see yourself through the eyes of someone else. That's just a representation how life was never meant to be done alone. You cannot do this thing alone. This life is not for you and you alone. It's for every other person, because everyone else can see you. Many people, strangers that you'll never see ever again, know how your face really looks. They've seen your true face. You have never seen your true face. You rely on external parties to see your true face. That is just an indicator that this life is not for you and you alone. But I promise you, what you bring to this life it's going to have an impact on every single person, on everyone. But now it starts with making sure that every single thing that you're bringing to the table, you are okay with that thing. It's not something that you've taken from your grandma, your dad, or whatever. It's something that you have brought to the table, right? When you move about your life, the direction that you want to go in your life, it's something that you are pleased with going in. It's not something that you've developed from people pleasing, none of that. It's something that when you die, you'll be like, I'm so happy with the life that I have lived. Because when you're happy with the life that you live, I promise you, everyone else is going to be happy. Maybe that's a lie. Maybe that is a lie. And maybe I'll talk about it next time. But yeah, discovering you. I encourage you to discover yourself. Be more mindful of yourself. You question yourself, you become more mindful with yourself. And then for me, because I'm a believer, I know what my behavior is supposed to look like. The job of a believer is just to bear as much fruit as possible, and the Bible tells me the fruits I should bear. So when I move about my life, if I don't like something, I take that to my Father in heaven, and I just say, Father, here's this thing about me, help me. And he's like, girl, I got you. That's why I sent the Holy Spirit to help you. And then I have a metric to say, okay, I have a standard. I have something I can say, these are the fruits of the Spirit. And so if I am quick to anger, I just like pray about it and be like, Holy Spirit, help me. Because this thing is making me very nar, and I'm not supposed to be nar. Because if I want to operate at a higher vibration, a higher frequency, narness is not going to do that for me. Being angry is not going to do that for me. I need to be more patient, peaceful, and all this stuff. And then I pray and I ask Holy Spirit, help me with these things. And he does that. But yeah, discovering you also. How do you discover you? Mindfulness. You can also do like tests online. It's really that simple. Do tests online. There's an app. I'll put a screenshot of the app here. I think it's called Dimensions. Yeah, I like that. I love that app. And it just tells you like your personality type and all the stuff. And then yeah, you just get more curious about yourself, man. The world will be a better place if people are actually like bold enough to be curious about themselves and stand on the things that they stand on, not the things that society stands on, not the things that other people stand on, but the things that you yourself stand on. I believe society would be a much better place if we all just brought ourselves to the table, not our grandmothers, not our uncles, not our dads, not our pets, not our friends, but we brought ourselves, because there's only one you. You exist with this you 24/7, 365. I would hate for you to be with someone that you don't know. I would hate for you to be a stranger to yourself. I would hate for you to be on your deathbed and realize that, wow, this whole life that I've lived, I have not lived this life in a way that I am happy about. I've done everything to satisfy everyone else except for myself. That's it for me. Until the next time you see my face on your screen. Bye.